all in on the things, and creating goals and creating things that are more important than you, finding something that's bigger than your excuses.
Welcome back to Young Smart Money with me, your host, Apple Creators. Today we're sitting down with Anthony Delgado to talk about his business Disrupt and how he has been able to connect with some very high-level influencers and really transform his way of thinking. So Anthony is on a mission to actually turn Puerto Rico into the next Silicon Valley, okay? He was really inspired after he went down there after a huge national disaster, was able to provide some support, but wanted to do even more. So he's on this mission to really provide the infrastructure to the people of Puerto Rico to allow them to create lives where they're able to make significantly more money and create a lifestyle for themselves that is going to allow them to really, really take life to the next level. So I was super stoked to sit down and talk with him today. He drops a ridiculous amount of value when it comes to building your network, and he talks about how he was actually almost sent to prison for 5 years because of a drug offense. Okay, so you definitely don't want to miss that. Anthony's story is ridiculous. It's so valuable. I learned so much from this conversation. So I want you guys to sit back, relax, plug in, and enjoy this episode of Young Smart Money. All right, Anthony, welcome to Young Smart Money. How are you doing today?
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm doing amazing.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. So Anthony, in the intro, our listeners got to hear a little bit about you and what you're currently doing right now. But for those of them that aren't familiar with what you're up to at Disrupt, could you give us a quick intro as to like what you're currently doing, maybe like 60 to 90 seconds?
Definitely. So my name is Anthony Delgado. I've been a software developer, serial entrepreneur, online marketer for the last 10 plus years. And when Hurricane Maria struck the island of Puerto Rico, I came across a problem that was bigger than myself. It was one of the biggest blackouts in American history. And me and a buddy of mine, we sent some water over in the first few days. And then we saw the water wasn't getting where it needs to go. So we went down to Puerto Rico. We gave away 300 solar panel lights, food, water, and supplies. And, we were giving each family like one case of water. And one case of water is enough water for maybe a week. And that's when I realized that I want to give people water for the rest of their lives. And how do we do that? Through technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So we're on a mission to help the 3.5 million people that live in Puerto Rico realize that they can leverage the power of the digital economy to create financial freedom for themselves. So, and to help them realize that all they need to succeed is Wi-Fi and a dream.
That's huge, man. That's huge. I'm so stoked to dive into this because I mean you're on a massive mission right now, and I'm so behind literally like everything that you're doing. So one place I like to start though is take us back to like middle school, high school years. Like what were you doing at a young age? Were you somebody who was getting into entrepreneurship? Were you very into sports? Were you into school? Like what did that time period look like for you?
Oh, I was not into school, dude. I went to 12 different schools by the time I graduated 12th grade.
Wow.
So I had like a 1-for-1 kind of relationship. So, some schools I might have been there for 2 years, and some of that is like transitioning from a middle school to a high school. But I definitely did a lot of bouncing around, a lot of moving around. I was always into entrepreneurship. There was that Biggie Smalls song, sewing tigers on my shirts and alligators, and I was like, that's a great idea. And I had like an iron on, I said ironing on shirts. I was making t-shirts when I was like in second grade. I used to throw parties and charge people to get into the parties when I was in grade school, and lemonade stands, selling baseball cards, selling basketball cards, selling candy. I mean, you name it. And I had a car wash. So 5th grade, they did a car wash at the school, and they did it for one day to raise money for like something in the school.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, great, we're gonna do this tomorrow. I'm like, no, it's done. It's one day thing. Like, no, it's not for me. I did it the whole summer, and put a football jersey on and went in front of the car wash, the real car wash, with like a signed $1 car wash. And people feel bad, give me $10, $20 or whatever. But no, entrepreneurship was always really like in my DNA. And that kind of transformed into being a street pharmacist when I was like in high school, right? So I started like selling pot, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs, whether or not they want to admit it, a lot of people have like sold pot in high school and shit like that.
Oh yeah.
And then I kind of realized that there was a bad investment. It was like a business decision. It's like my ROI like on this doesn't make sense. And I could make a lot higher margins on like t-shirts and all the other
Mhm.
stuff I was selling. CDs was huge because the CD cost you 10 cents, and back then you could sell those things for 5-10 bucks. So the market was really huge. And yeah, and then that's how I broke into eBay and Amazon. So when I was like 17, 18, got my first Amazon account, first eBay account, and I started selling those same CDs that I was selling like to people that I knew. I
Mhm.
was selling them online. I started making $3,000 a day,
Wow.
and literally like almost overnight. But we were able to scale up really quick, and that's when I knew that like the power of online was where it's at.
Absolutely. So throughout that time period, what was drawing you to entrepreneurship? Like, what was bringing you there? Was it the money? Was it like working on a new project? What was the draw to entrepreneurship for you?
I don't really know. I mean, I guess some of it was the money for sure. My mother always instilled like a work ethic in me. So like I would want to buy something, I would want to buy a toy, or I would want, hey, I want the new, Power Rangers, whatever. And she'd be like, okay, I'll give you the $10, whatever that you want, if you mow the lawn.
Mhm.
I will give you this if you do that. So I think, I'm blessed that from a young age she instilled that in me. And then I was always really bad, but I was always really smart. So
Hmm.
part of it was kind of like proving. I was always trying to prove myself, prove myself, prove myself. So like, I remember like I learned how much my teachers were making, and I remember in my mind I was like, okay, teachers are making 30,000. So like, if I can make 30,000, then I'm like better than these teachers. Or I don't know, something like that was like in my head. It was just like, how can I always, prove myself? How can I always, you know, beat the system, hack the system? I was
Mhm.
always like trying to tweak things. So like $20 an hour was like a good job. So I was like, okay, well, if I can go out and I can sell sneakers and I can make more than $20 in an hour, well, then I'm winning at life. And it was always me trying to hack, trying to
Mm.
hack, trying to hack. I also found out about like the Federal Reserve banking system and like what money really is and how money is like not really a thing. It's just like something that we made up.
Mhm.
And that kind of, I went through like a dark place where I kind of resented our financial system and I resented capitalism and stuff like that.
Mm.
And it was just like, I'm not going to get stuck in this rat race. Like they've created this system of slavery, corporate slavery, whatever. And like, I'm not going to get trapped. So it's like the 9 to 5 isn't for me. And, but then simultaneously, I actually did go to college. So I was like, the 9 to 5 isn't to me. But again, I went to college to like prove other people wrong. Like they
Mm.
were constantly kicking me out of school, tell me I wasn't smart enough. Da-da-da. I used to test out of the math class. I used to go in the first day of math, give me the final, and I would take the final on the first day of math and test out of it. So like it was always me like constantly trying to prove myself. And I went to college, but then college wasn't for me. I ended up getting kicked out in the first year. And I remember there was a song that was on the radio at the time. It was Cameron. And he said, I'm going to go to college and get out and be $100,000 in debt, make $30,000 a year. And he said, how am I supposed to go to Miami and drive fancy cars and like, live my best life doing that dumb shit? And I remember that song had came out at the same time where I was like getting kicked out of college. And I was just like, you know what, like this doesn't make sense, and I'm just gonna, continue to like follow my dreams and create my own destiny.
Awesome. So throughout that time in college, were you still like doing your entrepreneurial hustle, still selling stuff online?
So I had a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of it was due to like my social circle.
Okay.
I was going to like frat parties, getting wasted, chilling with girls, chilling with the wrong crowd,
Mhm.
chilling with who I thought was the right crowd, but probably wasn't, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of those things distracted me. So I was always hustling, but it was always like not as focused as like obviously as I am now.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I was always hustling. In college, I actually they would give us refund checks. So they would like send you back, and then they would give you this stipend, and they're like, okay, well, here's the money that's left over. Like you're gonna be in massive debt. Here's like some extra money that's like left over, and here's a check. So
Mhm.
I used to take that money, and then I would go to the wholesale fashion district in New York, and I started out just buying clothes for myself. Was buying sneakers, like shirts and jeans, whatever. And then I realized that like I was getting the stuff for such a good price that I could start selling it online. And then that's how I started selling like clothes and sneakers. And I got kicked out of college, but I kept doing that. And then I eventually ended up opening up my own store. And again, it
Hmm.
was like proving something like, hey, look, I have a store,
Yeah.
And this was before like the internet was like there, but it wasn't as big as it is now.
Sure.
Um, and I had like a store, and then that was me like proving something. And then I had a bunch of like crazy things that happened in the store. I had like gang members come into the store and like try to take it over. And it was like, yeah, we're gonna be your partners. I was like, no, you're not. You're not gonna be my partners. And and you know, and a lot of my friends, I mean, these were my friends. These were kids that I went to high school with. Like, I never joined the gang or anything, but I was always really close to like Bloods and Crips and Latin Kings and Yetas and all these freaking crazy dudes. And these were kids, like some of my friends were Crips and some of them were Bloods and some of them were this and that. And like they're freaking killing each other, you know? And meanwhile, these were like my friends at the time, you know? One of my friends is actually doing 18 years in jail because he killed another friend of mine, you know, and they were in two different gangs. And he just like, these were like things that happened. And like, for me, it was normal. But like, now that I look at it, I was like, that wasn't normal. Like, this stuff was crazy.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm running my store. And so I had my store. My store was on the corner of a street in West New York, of Broadway in West New York. And there was people going around, like my customers, the people that were buying my sneakers. A lot of them were selling drugs. They were doing stuff. And one day, this black guy comes into my store and he tries on a pair of sneakers and he's like, hey, I'm new around here. I'm a DJ, da da da. Do you know where I can buy some pop? And I was like, yeah, let me call one of my friends, whatever. And I give him the guy's number, da da da. And 6 months later, I get a phone call. I'm sleeping, and it's like, hey, you're under arrest. I said, I'm under arrest. What do you mean? I'm sleeping. Like, oh, and they're like, okay, well, no, you're under arrest for controlled substance distribution. So long story short, that guy was a cop, and they charged him with conspiracy. So even though I didn't sell any drugs, even though all I did was give him somebody's phone number, he met up with the guy separately. And the weed laws were a little different. This is about 10 years ago. Weed
Mhm.
laws were a little different. But even though I didn't sell him anything, they charged me with conspiracy. And I like freaked out. And I called my lawyer. My lawyer was like, I can't get any details. All I know is this drug conspiracy. I don't even remember this guy. I'm thinking like
Yeah.
they got Pablo Escobar and they're trying to pin it on me. Like, I have no idea what they're talking about. And finally, I turned myself in. They look at the paperwork, and it was literally 2 dime bags worth of weed. So for 2 dime bags worth of weed, I got this huge conspiracy charge. It was this big crazy thing, and that's when I really realized that like all the stuff that my mom told me, all the stuff that like my guidance got, whoever the fuck was told, like watch who you hang out with, watch what you're doing. Like it really like sunk in that like I need to be in control of my situation and my surroundings,
Yeah.
even though I wasn't doing anything. Like I wasn't selling drugs. I had made the decision it was bad business. I can make more money selling t-shirts and doing this. So that's when I realized like, okay, I need to watch who the hell I'm hanging out with. It didn't matter that I wasn't selling anything.
Mhm.
Didn't matter that I wasn't really even smoking weed at that time. Just by the friends, the circle that I was keeping, I was getting into all this freaking trouble. There's all this crazy shit that was happening around me. And so I really like cut everybody off at that point. I stopped talking to everybody, and I just oh, so here's the good thing that came out of it. So this is a lesson for people.
Mhm.
Bad things will always happen, but it's always up to you how you handle it.
Mm.
So at this time, I had the cops looking for me, or the cops, whatever, mad at me because I turned myself in. I bailed out, so they weren't looking for me for that long. But had the cops mad at me, cops looking for me. I had the fucking all the local drug dealers mad at me because
Yeah.
now they don't fucking know if I'm the one that sent this guy. Like nobody really knew what had happened. They locked up 50 people in the whole
Wow.
neighborhood. This guy was just walking around for 6 months. Hey, where can I get this? Hey, where can I get that? For 6 fucking months, this guy was walking around, and
Wow.
every single person that talked to him literally got arrested. It's crazy. It came out in the newspaper and everything. So they don't freaking know if like it's my fault, right? So I have all these gangbangers mad at me. You know, and some of them were not mad at me. A lot of them were my friends and they were cool, but it was like all this fucking drama happening. And then my store gets burglarized. I come back to my store one day and nothing's there. And I'm just like, oh man. And I know I had like kind of an idea who it was, even though I couldn't prove it. And it was just all this bad stuff kept happening. Then like a couple weeks later, they come into the store. Now it's my fault. I'm in the store really late. I was in the store like almost at midnight. And they come in the store at midnight and then they try to jump me like while I'm in the store. All this stuff. And like all this crazy stuff is happening. And luckily like nothing really happened to me. Like the one dude like whatever, tried to do some shit and nothing really happened. But the point of the matter was all this crazy shit's happening.
Yeah.
And I didn't close the store. A lot of people were like, yo, just close the store. So my crazy ass, I fucking put the business up for sale and I fucking sold the business in like record time. I fucking sold the business to some freaking, some Jewish kid from Long Island. And he paid me like, I forgot what it was, maybe $20,000. I don't know, something. It like wasn't a lot, but it was like a lot at the time. And I fucking turned lemons into lemonade. It was crazy, and I did it in like no amount of time. And so I sold the store, and then I started selling everything online. And I kind of knew like that's sort of where I should have been anyway.
Mm.
And I had even asked the kid, I was like, why did you buy the store? Like, I don't understand. Like, there was only a few $1,000s worth of merchandise. You paid multiple X of just the sneakers or like whatever was in the store. If you add it up, he's paying a multiple. And I was like, why? He's like, well, the brand and the website. So I included the website of the thing, and he's like, I looked at the website, it looked really nice. Da, da, da. I was like, so that's where the real money was.
Mm.
So I took all the money from that, and I started my first startup, and it was like a competitor to eBay. It was kind of a mixture between like eBay and Amazon, and maybe like Shopify.
Hmm.
So it was more like Amazon, where it was like a marketplace, people could list their items, but then you could also create your own store. So I started this in 2008 and took the money from it, invested in it, slowly started learning to code. I had coded a little bit as a kid, but I was learning to code more. And I really like cut everybody off at that point. I was only speaking to a few strategic people, even people that I was really cool with. I was just like, if they were like still in that street life, it's just like, I really had to limit my contact with them because it was like what I'm trying to create, where I'm trying to go, and what my past is, they're different. They're just too different. And I knew that I had to just change my surroundings, change my environment. And so for a long time, I was just alone. It was just me coding, working on my app, doing what I had to do. And then meanwhile, I'm learning to code and I'm still going to trial for this case because this case isn't over. And going to court, and they're like, we're going to give you 5 years in jail. And I'm like,
Wow.
I don't understand how I'm getting 5 years in jail for one dime. Like, I don't understand this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing is, like, Obama admits in his book, hey, I smoked joints in college. President Bush admitted that he did cocaine in college. Bill Clinton admitted that he smoked weed. He said he didn't inhale, supposedly, right? But, like, it's so mainstream, and at that point, I think the only state that was legal was California.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, they weren't doing this mass legalization stuff that they were doing. And I was, I guess, ahead of my time a little bit because, like, I had even wrote papers in high school why weed should be legal and all this stuff. But the thing that I learned, one of the biggest things that I learned is that it wasn't. So it doesn't matter how you think things should be. You have to react based on how they actually are. So I was so hard-headed. I didn't get a license. I used to drive around with no license. And I would get tickets. I would get they would take my cars. All this stuff used to happen to me because I believed that the government shouldn't regulate people from driving based on a driver's license. I actually still believe that. But that's not where I live. I live in America and I need a fucking driver's license. And that's just it. So it's like, I believe that weed should be legal. But that still doesn't mean that I can just associate or just operate as if it's legal because the rules of the game are X. If you want weed to be legal, you can move to California. Now you can move to Colorado or you can move to Amsterdam. There's places where you can go and you can start a marijuana business and it could be legal. But you have to play based on the way the rules are today, not based on how you want them to be. And it took me a lot of pain, a lot of struggle, a lot of hardship just to realize that I have to play by the rules of the game that are there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So bouncing back to when you were talking about how you sort of cut everyone off, talk to our listeners now, maybe like the 16, 17, 18-year-old out there who might be realizing like the people they're surrounding themselves with aren't the type of people that are going to help them achieve their goals, that aren't the type of people that are going to help them get to the places they're looking to get to, whether that's entrepreneurship, starting some kind of project, doing whatever they want to pursue. What would you tell that person as to like, how can they begin to audit their circle? How can they begin to start making changes to help better themselves and help move themselves towards the place where they want to get to?
So that was 10 years ago
Mhm.
when I first started making that shift. Today, I'm so blessed that my friends are amazing people. Most of them are millionaires. Some of them are billionaires. They're all way more successful than me. And there's a quote. One of my friends, he has a multi-billion-dollar medical company, and he just moved this company down to Puerto Rico. And he told me this quote. He said, "If your friends are 5 idiots, you'll be the sixth one. If your friends are 5 millionaires, you'll be the sixth one." So it's like you really need to be intentional with the people you surround yourself with. Um, so many people, when you're in kindergarten, you don't choose the people that you're friends with.
Mhm.
They stick you in a room, and it's completely out of your control. And who's ever there, that's your friends. If you're still friends with the same people from kindergarten, and sure, we all have that one person, our ride or die with that one friend.
Mhm.
But regardless, if that person's not serving you, if these people are not serving you, like change your friends. Like it's you don't uh you don't write the same way you did when you were a kid. You don't walk the same way. You don't do any of the other same things. So the fact that you have your same friends from when you were in kindergarten or in grade school, it's just silly. And like you didn't choose those friends. So
Yeah.
now that you're an adult, you get to choose. You get to choose your friends. You get to choose who you associate yourself with. And one of the biggest things that I've learned is really being comfortable with being alone. It's a huge thing, and even me, I struggle with it because I am social. I do like to associate with people, but like you have to get comfortable with being alone, with getting your value from yourself, with getting your center and your knowledge from yourself, getting your validation from yourself. So many people, myself included, we look for others to validate our ideas, our aspirations, and when you operate like that, you're gonna be in such a bad position, because you're going to be limited by the people you're around, even if the people you're around are amazing. So we host events in Puerto Rico. It's part of my mission with Disrupt. I have this whole
Mhm.
mission to use these events to transform the island. And financially, we do sell tickets, but we spend a lot of money, and these events just haven't been profitable.
Mhm.
They're not financially profitable. By the
Sure.
time that we, spend money on the event, spend money on all the things that are necessary to pull these things off, staff, plane tickets, lodge, all these things, all these expenses, we break even on the events. A lot of times we lose money. I pull money out of my own pocket to make them happen. And so I have an advisor of mine who I really respect, and she told me, "Hey, I don't think you should throw events anymore." And I was like, "Okay, well, that's nice." And then we kept talking, and I said something about events again, and she was like, "You just said you weren't gonna throw any more events," and I said, "No, you said I'm not gonna throw any more events. I'm gonna keep throwing events because I have a mission." So it's like even some, and I really respect her. She's an angel investor. So she's made multiple millions of dollars in her career, like really successful person who I do go to for guidance all the time. But
Mhm.
like you still have to get your vision from inside. You have to have your own internal compass. And I feel like especially when you're young, you're looking for everyone's validation. And a lot of times we're looking for validation for people that have never done what we're trying to do. Right. So like you can't get it if your mom isn't a millionaire, you can't get advice from your mom on how to be a millionaire. You can't. She can't provide that information for you. You know, and if your friends have never started a Shopify store, you can't really get their feedback on how to run your Shopify store. If your friend, even if it's your millionaire friend, has never thrown a massive scale event or never started a huge movement, you can't get their advice on doing that activity. And you can't get their advice on other things. So if like your mom is a really dope, really dope, I don't know. I'm trying not to say something that's offensive, but I feel like anything I say will be offensive. But if your mom's really, really good at Amazon, well, my mom actually is. My mom has ran a six-figure Amazon business for the past 10 years. So when I want advice on Amazon, I do ask my mom about that. Hey, what's the ins and outs of FBA? And I will ask her advice on those things. But there's other things that I won't. My mom never bought real estate. So I'm not going to ask her advice on real estate because that's not what she specializes in. you know? So really being careful about who you get your advice from, and then being intentional about what comes into your mind. We're very impressionable. We're very, very, very impressionable. And the smarter you are, what I found is the more impressionable you are because you're learning, but you could be learning from the wrong people. So it's like, if you're, that's why I stopped listening to hip hop music, because
Mm.
if you're just listening to hip hop music all the time, they're just saying like drugs and money and girls and drugs and money and girls and drugs and money and girls. And it's like, okay, well, that's not, that's not going to serve you. You're programming your brain with the wrong stuff. So, really be intentional about who your friends are, what activities you're doing, what music you're listening to, what podcasts you're listening to. That's why what you're doing is so important, because you're giving people an alternative media that they can consume instead of consuming music videos, or instead of consuming memes on Instagram, right? You're giving them something positive that they can consume that's going to help level them up.
Exactly, exactly. So one thing that I'm really fascinated by and something that I'm trying to develop right now is sort of that idea of being alone and being comfortable being alone and being able to really learn a lot from yourself. So when you were talking about like being able to distance yourself from everyone and sort of develop your sense of solidarity, were you like how would a listener, how would a 20-year-old listener go about developing that themselves that isn't super comfortable? Maybe they don't feel comfortable being alone. They don't feel comfortable just like sitting in a room and like staring at the wall by themselves for like 15 minutes. Like, how would you advise them to start getting comfortable being alone and getting comfortable like with their own thoughts and like chilling out in their own head for a little bit?
Well, one thing that I think I've found, and some of it has been through force and some of it has been through uh, being intentional, is finding things that are bigger than myself. And even bigger than that, like finding things that like I would almost die for. Finding these things that are just so important to me that, this is do or die, and I'm not going to stop until I accomplish it. So when I sold the store, well, when I was running the store, it was the store. So the store had a rent of $900, and so that was $30 a day for the rent. So
Mhm.
every day I would wake up, and the most important thing was that the store made $30 or more, so that the store would stay running. And I did that, and I did that, and I did that, and I was able to amass a lot of revenue by just following that model. I'd wake up every day, I would have flyers, like whatever, go out and throw. If the store was empty, I'd go and throw out flyers, and every day I was focused on that. Then when I left the store, I had my e-commerce and my online, and I started learning to code, and that was the most important thing. And then I I went on the run. They were gonna send me to jail, and I was like, sure. And then I didn't show up, and I moved to New York City. And then the most important thing to me was, again, paying my rent, staying out of jail, being free, and then going to the gym. And I started going to the gym. I got into the best shape of my life, but it was like at all these different points in my life, it was like, this is the thing that I have to do in my life. And now it's what I'm doing in Puerto Rico. I wrote an article in Forbes, and the article is "Bye Mom, I'm moving to Puerto Rico, and here's why." And I wrote that article before I moved to Puerto Rico, because I knew once this article gets published, I better be in fucking Puerto Rico. I'm gonna look stupid. Where the whole world is gonna look at me like, where, you still in Jersey? What's going on? So and then I moved down there, and I took a one-way ticket, and like I just had to figure it out. So it's like the expression is called burn the ships. There's a war taking place. They're trying to take over an island, and the guys are fighting on the coastline, and the general burns the ships behind them. So while they're fighting, they look back, and there's no turning back, there's no retreat. So you have to put yourself in those positions where whatever you're doing is so important, and that there's no turning back. So if it's a business, like that's why affirmations and public affirmations are so important, because when you go to the world and you're like, I'm starting a business, Instagram, even if you only have 100 followers, those 100 followers are your friends. They're people that know you. So now you don't want to turn back and say, oh, wow, I didn't really start the business. So really like going all in on the things, and attaching, creating goals and creating things that are more important than you, finding something that's bigger than your excuses. right? And then like back to kind of being alone, because I think I kind of veered off of it, but that's how I find value in being alone. Like when
Hmm.
I go to the gym, it's like I prioritize that thing over all the other social interactions. So like when I was going to the gym, people would hit me up. They would say, "Hey, let's go to the club. Let's go here. Let's go there." And what I would do is I would tell them, "Yeah, I'll do that after I go to the gym for 1 hour," because I had prioritized going to the gym as the most important thing in my life. So finding things that are really important and prioritizing. And then I think another great thing is what you're doing is like podcasts. Like you can consume content, and like I almost feel like I have relationships with a lot of people that I listen to on podcasts and because I listen to them all the freaking time. And so if you can't get into a room where you change your friends instantly, you can change them by just changing what you listen to, changing what you consume, um, and again, like trying to find your value from inside. Stop trying to seek validation from others and start investing in yourself. Start um, building value from within.
100%. So how do you personally go about finding those things that are bigger than yourself to pursue? Because say we've got a 16-year-old listener here who wants to make a change in the world, but they don't exactly know what they want to do. They don't know what the impact they want to make is, but they know they want to do something. So how do you personally, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Somebody called, but I just denied it.
No worries. So how do you personally go about establishing your goals? How did you land on the goal of like Puerto Rico and like getting those people to a place where they can support themselves and really create incomes for themselves? Like, how do you go about that process?
So there's two types of people in this world. There's the type of people that walk past problems, they walk past things that they think could be better, and they say somebody should do something about that. Like, oh wow, somebody should do something about that. Oh, he's homeless. Somebody should help him, right? And then there's other people who say, me, I'm gonna be the change that I want to see in the universe. And so what I what I implore your listeners to do is to be that second person. Be the person that takes it amongst themselves to look at the injustices in the world, um, and be the change that they want to see in the universe. Um, so many, so many people, they live their lives waiting for others, um, and waiting for others' approval, waiting for the universe to hand them something, waiting for the universe to fix something, waiting for the president, the politicians, my teacher, my principal, this should be like this. But like every single time that you have a complaint about the way the world is, just know that you could be the person to change it, and what that is for you. So I've been telling people the first year, I've been telling people to move to Puerto Rico. And very recently, I started changing my message to move to Puerto Rico or whatever Puerto Rico is for you. Right. So for me, in this stage of my life, it's Puerto Rico. But 6 months down the line, or a year down the line, or 5 years down the line, it may be something new. But taking the opportunities in your life when you see something that is wrong and standing up for it, disrupting. It's funny, my mom had said when I told her about this company, um, she was like, "Yeah, you were really disruptive in class." Right? But the thing was, I was always raising my hand and saying, "Hey, no, teacher, hey, this is wrong. Hey, no, we can change this. Hey, we should start a student radio station. Hey, we should do X, Y, and Z."
Hmm.
So like even though like I never got left back in school. I was getting kicked out, I was getting in trouble, but I never got left back because I was always my disruption was always for a positive. I was always trying to interpret injustices and disrupt them. Like, okay, man, something's wrong here. I'm gonna have the courage to actually say something. I'm gonna have the courage to actually stand up um for what I believe is right. And so, I mean, kids out there that are 16, 17, I mean, first and foremost, there's no right way to do things. And I feel like a lot of times people feel like, oh, I don't know the right way, or how can I make an impact? And it's like, you can make an impact literally by just posting an Instagram story about it. Like, we live in a digital world that's so connected, where your impact can have ripple effects. Recently for Thanksgiving, I saw an Instagram story of some people that were just handing out turkeys on the side of the road. And I don't even know where the hell they were. They were Ohio. I have no idea where they were. And I just commented. I was like, that's really cool. And they were like, yeah, well, you can do it too. You can just do this in your city. It's like, yeah, you're right. And then I just called some friends of mine that were in town from Puerto Rico. We were doing an event in Puerto Rico that time. Just so happened. And I was like, we should do this. It's Thanksgiving. Like, let's just do it. And within like 24 hours, we bought a bunch of turkeys, got a bunch of donations, gave out turkeys all around the neighborhood. And then we made a video and we posted our video, and it was just like that ripple effect, like super random. It wasn't really planned. We went to Walmart. Walmart had a rule. We couldn't even buy the turkeys. That's the funny part. Went to Walmart. They would only let us buy 5 turkeys at a time. Like, we wanted to buy like 100. And they were like, you can only buy 5 at a time, but we'll give you these gift cards, and then the people can come in with the gift card and they can get their turkey. So that's what we ended up doing. We gave out a few physical turkeys, and then whatever was left, we gave them all out in gift cards. So, but it's like, there's no right way to do things. There are just different ways. Our slogan at the shop is we're out here. And it's because I went down to Puerto Rico when the hurricane first happened, before I moved out there. And we gave away 300 solar panel lights. I didn't have a plan. I was just like, we need to do this. And then I called all my friends and I called people that I know, and we all came together, and then we did it. And then we went out there, and everybody was asking me like, what do we do next? And I was like, I don't know. We're out here. Like, I didn't even know the island at that time. So it's like, just doing it. Here's what I'll leave it on. Everything works. You just have to do it. So it's like, whatever you want to do, everything works. Whether you send a text, whether you send a tweet, whether you send it, everything works as long as you do it.
That's the truth. One thing that I want to touch on you with before we hop out of here today is one thing that you have identified yourself as is an influencer plug. And I just wanted to hear your definition of like what that meant and like what that phrase means to you.
Thanks, man. So, influencer plug. So before I put influencer plug, I actually had influencing influencers. And basically, here's the thing. A lot of people have a lot of followers. There's like all these booty girls that have like 20 million followers, whatever. Or these meme accounts, funny pages. But if you're not influencing people, like if I was already drinking Coca-Cola, and then like a freaking Instagram model takes a picture with a can of Coca-Cola, she's like, oh, hashtag Coke, or whatever. Like Kylie Jenner is like, oh, okay, like drink Pepsi or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Black Lives Matter. Like, you're not influencing anything. Like, people were already drinking Pepsi. Yeah. You didn't fucking change anyone's mind to do anything new, right? So like, for me, that's not real influence. The governor of New York, he has like 500 followers. His account's verified, and he has real influence. He'll pick up the fucking phone and like shit'll change. So really, it's about using your influence to create a positive impact on the universe, right? Like, what are you actually doing with your listeners? What are you actually doing with your followers? What are you actually doing with the influence that you have, even in your local community, right? And as far as being the influencer plug, so that's a new phrase that I turned. So one of the things that we do consulting. So we do help people build their influence in various different ways, whether that's by podcasting, by doing press, media, news, social media, all different types of strategies. But I'm also the plug to a lot of other influencers. So like, I have relationships with Gerard Adams, Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone, fucking a lot of different people.
Sure.
And the thing is, people don't realize that you're one phone call away from a lot of the people that you look up to, right? So any of your listeners that are watching this, if you go and follow me and send me a DM and start a relationship with me, now you're just 2 steps away from whoever it is that you might want to admire, right? And one of the things that I've realized in my life is that I can very intentionally curate the relationships of people that I admire,
Hmm.
right? So one of the ways that I got started before Instagram was LinkedIn. Started building a massive following on LinkedIn, um, and really connecting with some of the most influential people in the world. The CTO of Amazon, he's someone that I'm friends with on LinkedIn, and we have emails back and forth and things of that nature. And like, if you follow him on Instagram, he has 200 followers, but he has more influence than a lot of other people that you might know, you know. And the thing that I think people really need to realize is, again, anyone that you look up to, they're one DM away. Elon Musk is on Twitter. Like, you can DM him, and we've never had this opportunity in humankind to be able to do this. So I really think that all of your listeners, if you want to be an influencer, or if you're looking to, gain a following, think about, why are you gaining a following? Are you gaining a following just for vanity metrics, just that you can feel good about yourself? Or are you gaining a following so that you can actually have a positive impact on the world? And then think about, how can I leverage um, the people in my network to create the things that I want to create in the world? The one thing that I always ask people is, okay, you got 1 million followers. If you rang their doorbell, would they let you stay on the sofa? Would they let you stay the night? Right? Because it's like, your followers even like you. You know what I mean? The people that are in my network, I'm super grateful. Like, I can pick up the phone and call these people, and like, things happen. The world moves. So really being the type of human being that picks up the phone and is able to make the world move, and make change really happen.
That's the truth. And it's all about being intentional. And like, people hit me up every single day. They're like, how do I grow my Instagram? How do I grow my podcast? How do I grow my YouTube? And my first question is always like, why? Like, what is your purpose? What are you trying to do? Like, what goal are you trying to achieve? Because if I don't know like what their purpose is, then I can't give them any kind of relevant advice to their goal, because I don't even know what they're trying to do. So I think it's really important to go into it with a goal and think like, what is the message you're trying to spread? Like, what is the impact you're trying to make? Because if you don't have that in mind from the get, you're likely not going to stick with it, and you're likely not going to have an impact at all. And the people that do follow you aren't going to have that relationship with you.
Definitely. Or if you hit up an influencer and you're like, hey, come be on my podcast. It's like, okay, well, why? Come to
Yeah.
my event. It's like, okay, well, why? Oh, well, I'm on a mission to help young people everywhere realize that they don't have to be in the rat race. That was your pitch. And I was like,
Yep.
okay, well, wow, that's inspiring. So it's the same thing. Like, we host these events in Puerto Rico, these massive masterminds, and I've had really amazing world-class people come down to these masterminds and speak. And it's because what I'm doing, there's actually a mission behind it.
Yep.
So many people that they've actually gone out of their way to attend these events. Um, John Malat, he was coming from an event in Texas, and he literally like took a red eye flight so that he could be there. Another influencer he had came from Australia, and again, the same thing. He didn't have to go. He didn't have to come to Puerto Rico to speak at my event. He went out of his way to actually make it happen, actually cut through any red tape, because he believed in the mission. So people really need to figure out, why you want to start a podcast? Why? You want to start an event? Why? You want to start a personal brand? Why? You want to start a company? Why? A company is big. So many people are starting companies for no reason. It's like, oh, I want to start a company. Why? Because I want to make money. Okay, well, there's a lot of ways to make money. Like, you could freaking get a job if you wanted to make money. You could sell cars. I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
ways to make money that I think people, they're just doing things for the wrong reason. And again, everything works. Like, if you just love cars, if your passion is I love freaking exotic cars, and you go into a car business, you will be successful. But if you hate cars and you're just selling cars because, oh, I want to make money, no, you're gonna be miserable. You're gonna be miserable. Not gonna be successful. But on the flip side, my friend the other day, he had told me, oh, what do I have to do? Oh, I have to do what I love, right? I always hear that.
Mhm.
It's like, well, no, like, you have to do what matters to you.
Mm.
Like, I don't love all the things that I do. I don't love freaking cold calling influencers and freaking begging them to come to my events. Not necessarily fun. It drains me. I have to
Yeah.
get on the phone with these people and like pitch, and like really, like, I get mentally drained. I'm not actually an extrovert. that's that misconception. People think I'm an extrovert. I'm really not. I'm an introvert, but I have extroverted capabilities,
Mhm.
but I do get drained when I talk to people. I don't like freaking getting on sales calls. I don't like doing email blasts necessarily. I don't like a lot of the stuff that I do, but I do it because the thing that I'm chasing is important to me. So it's not do what you love. Do what I love. I'd just be in the beach all day in Puerto Rico. I wouldn't be here in New York in the rain, right? But the reason that I'm here in New York is because I just spoke on Power 105.1 because I want to build a relationship there, because I know that attaching to their audience will then further my mission, which is to shed light in Puerto Rico and help turn Puerto Rico into the next Silicon Valley.
Mm.
So it's not what the steps along the way is not do what I love. It's do something that's important to you.
Mm. 100%, 100%. That's a huge distinction to make, especially for our younger listeners. I think that's a ton of massive value you just dropped right there. Anthony, I've got some questions that I'd like to ask all of my guests before we wrap up the show. Are you feeling ready for them?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. The first one is, what are you excited about right now? This could be something in your business, in the wider realm of the world, but like, what is something that genuinely has you excited?
Okay, I'll give you like top three.
All right.
So I'm super excited for Power 105 interview that just dropped. It's gonna be out probably by the time this airs.
Cool.
The full interview will air, and yeah, I'm just super excited about that. And then they asked me to be at the Puerto Rican Day Parade on the Power 105 float. So I'm gonna be on the float at a freaking parade. I've never
Wow.
done that before. So if you're in New York City and you want to come to the Puerto Rico Day Parade, come through. I'll be on the float, and then shoot me a DM. We'll probably have an after party or something after. So I'm super excited about that. Number two, I'm excited for our next event. Our next event is October 25th, 2019, and it is in collaboration with Build Your Empire, Casey Adams and John Malott. So it's going to be a really, really super dope event. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for influencer podcast. So I just did a partnership with Nathan, and we kind of joined forces on influencer podcast. We work with influencers to help them get on podcasts. It's like exactly what it sounds like. And yeah, we have some amazing clients that we've worked with through both of our networks. And it's like people like Bedros, people like Ed Millett, John Malott, Casey Adams, Carlos Gill. Like, we have a really sick lineup between the people I've worked with and the people that we've worked with. So we recently joined forces on that venture, and I'm excited about that. And then Disrupt Mentors. That's the last one. I said it was going to be three. It's four. Disrupt Mentors is a new product that I'm launching with Naheem. Naheem spoke at the last Disrupt event, and he is actually a Tony Robbins coach. He's worked directly with Tony Robbins for over 5 years. Super talented individual. And we're starting a new coaching program called Disrupt Mentors, and high performance coaching for anyone that wants to, build a personal brand, build their business, really take their shit to the next level. And it's going to be me and him teamed up. So I'm going to be coaching a little bit on the mindset, but also on, business and strategy and marketing. And he's going to be coaching on mindset, high performance, and then also sales. He's really, really good at sales. I'm really, really good at marketing. We're both really big on like building brand and mindset. So I'm really excited for that collaboration as well.
That's huge, man. Lots of big things in the lineup for you, and I'll be sure to link up that interview and the link to your event as well in the show notes for this episode for our listeners to check out if they are interested in either of those things. Anthony, do you have any habits that have served you particularly well? These could be in your business, in your lifestyle, but just things you do on a regular basis to help you level up.
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of YouTube. I have YouTube Red. So I've actually been cheating on podcasts a little bit because I've been doing a lot of YouTube Red. But definitely being intentional with the content that I receive. I violently unsubscribe and unfollow things that don't serve me. And I want all your listeners to have permission to unfriend, unfollow, and unsubscribe from anything that's not serving the person that you want to become. So that's been really huge. And then really just knowing that I'm the author of my life, and knowing that my past does not define my future, and that I can create whatever the hell that I want to create, and external circumstances don't matter. If you can point to we're 99% the same DNA as every other human being. So if you can point to another human being who's done even 1/10 of what you want to do, then that means that you can do it too. So really realizing that I'm the author of my own life. I'm the deciding factor between success and failure. That failure isn't even a bad thing, to embrace failure, to continue to grow, and to just really realize that the only person that I need permission from to do the things that I want to do is myself.
Mm, that's huge. Y'all got to go back and like rewind the last 30 seconds and really internalize that, because that was real valuable. Y'all, if you are not giving yourself permission to audit the information that you take in and to cut out things that are not serving you, you need to make a change. Like that was such a huge change for me when I was like, is this serving me? Nope, it's gone. Like really be intentional with what you put into your brain, because like that is going to manifest into everything that you do. So really, really important. Anthony, what kind of content are you consuming right now? I know you said lots of YouTube Red. Any channels in particular? Any podcasts in particular?
Let's see. Podcast. Big shout out to Build Your Empire. I always listen to all their stuff. I've been listening to a lot of Russell Brunson. I really, really have been digging his sales and marketing stuff.
Yeah.
He has a wealth of content out there. It's on YouTube, and then it's also a podcast, either way that you want to consume it. Who else? Shout out to Gerard Adams. Leaders Create Leaders is super dope. That's my homie. That's my old business partner. What are some other podcasts? Dropping Diamonds podcast is dope. Ty Lopez, believe it or not. So I'll try to keep this quick. So like Ty Lopez, I didn't know that much about him until a few years ago. I just knew like he's the Ferrari guy, like whatever. And then like I started meeting mutual friends, and a lot of people that knew him personally, like were speaking very highly of him. And then recently I've gotten the chance to meet him a few times. There was like a private dinner at his house, and then this other event in Miami. And then I spoke at a mastermind down in Miami. And I got to really meet him, and then I started consuming his content. His sales content, like he knows how to like psychology, like mind fuck you into like buying his courses. But that's good. I mean, I don't know. But even the other stuff that he talks about, like I've learned a lot of stuff from him, like all the strategic partnerships that I'm setting up now. He's not the only person that influenced me. I have another billionaire friend that I'm friends with on a more personal level. But he broke it down so simply. He's like, dude, I just go into a business partnership and I say, hey, we're 50-50 partners, and I'm going to do this and you're going to do that, and boom. And he was like, just set those up. And if you set enough of those up, they'll be lucrative. So I've been setting those up. And like, again, just like really keeping it simple. He dumbs down a lot of really complex stuff. So there is like a lot of value in his content. I've been consuming it, and I've actually like, here's the other thing. I met a bunch of people that took his courses and were actually successful after taking them. I was like, okay, well, if I take a course and then I get an outcome, then that's not scam. That's a product.
Yeah.
So I actually have like a newfound respect for him and what he's doing, due to meeting people who have actually interacted with him and then changed their lives. So yeah, I've been consuming some of his stuff. Gary Vee, I got tired of him. Just like, I get it. Like I love him to death, but I can't keep consuming his content. But yeah, Russell Brunson, if there's one thing, like, and he's strategic too. He's not mindset. Yeah. He's all about like strategy. So if there's one and he's kind of nerdy. Yeah. So like, that's why I never watched his stuff. There's like, who's this nerd? But now that I've really been consuming this stuff, if there's like one recommendation, I would say Russell Brunson.
Absolutely. I was just down at the ClickFunnels event a few months ago, heard Russell speak, heard a bunch of his friends speak. And yeah, he's a really smart guy, and he's got some really powerful tactics to use to really transform your business and take it to that next level.
Definitely.
All right, Anthony. One thing I'm always curious about with my guests is what they do that doesn't scale. So for me personally, what I'll do is every single day I'll pull out my phone. I'll shoot like 5 to 10 video DMs to just new followers on Instagram. I'll just go to my list of new followers, pick randomly 5 to 10 people, be like, hey, what's up, Anthony? My name's Apple. Thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. Let me know if there's any way that I can bring value to you. Have a wonderful day. Something super simple like that. But it really does make an impact on people. And it's not something that I like bring one of my VAs on to like do for me all day and like mass produce. I want it to be personal, and I want people to know that like when they get that message, it's actually for me. So is there anything that comes to mind for you that has that personal like Anthony Delgado touch to it, or stuff that you do that doesn't mass produce and that you don't really scale?
So, I mean, what I'm going to say is going to make what you're doing look like it's scalable. So I meet people in person. It's this crazy thing.
What?
And I'll meet people for lunch, and it takes so long. I meet people for lunch and dinner, and it takes so long. And I know that it's not scalable.
Mm-hmm.
I know how much time it's taking, but I really feel like the relationships that I'm building, it's again, can I pick up the phone and will things happen? And I learned this from like a lot of older people that they were like, there's no like, hey, can we do a phone call? It's like, no, let's meet for lunch. Like, no, I want to meet you in person and like see you. And so I've really learned to focus on in-person interactions with people, and I've realized how valuable it is in a digital world, in a world where it's all DMs, it's all video, it's all audio, it's all consumable. Having those conversations that aren't documented, right? Like, there's only so much I'm going to say in a text. There's only so much that I'm going to say on Instagram and a DM where it can get screenshotted or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So really meeting with people. And again, it's strategic. I'm not hanging out with, with random people in the street, but, people like John Malott, people like Paul Getter, people like Ty Lopez, like going out of your way to actually have a one-on-one conversation with another human being and go and have lunch, go and have coffee. I think that was the thing that I do that's unscalable, and I will continue to refine how much of that I do, and do it strategically. But I don't think I'll ever stop meeting with people in person.
Absolutely. So, Anthony, you've been dropping a ridiculous amount of value on our listeners. I really appreciate it, man. Where can they go if they want to follow up with you, find out more about you, more about Disrupt? Where should we send our listeners to follow up with you at?
Go to disruptweek.com. That's where our events are. Definitely come, drop your email address, and we have a ton of really fun events that are coming up. So definitely go to disruptweek.com. On Instagram, you can hit me up, anthony.disrupt. Definitely check me out on YouTube and check out our podcast, the Disrupt Podcast, on iTunes and Stitcher and Spotify, all the places where you find podcasts.
Awesome. And I'll link all those up in the show notes. Anthony, do you have any last words of wisdom or anything you want to close out the show with here today?
Don't be scared to disrupt yourself. So many people, they have an identity and they think that identity is them. And like I said earlier on the show, you are a canvas. And at any point, you can repaint the canvas. You can throw some white paint and you can create something new. Just because you're used to, just because you used to be a nerd doesn't mean you always have to be a nerd. Just because you used to listen to hip hop doesn't mean you can't listen to rock and roll. Just because you used to listen to rock and roll doesn't mean you can't listen to techno. It's all these different labels and things that we put on ourselves. And my superpower has been the ability to reinvent myself based on the goals that I want to accomplish. Don't be scared to disrupt yourself.
Words of wisdom. Anthony, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you choosing to spend it here on Young Smart Money.
Thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Young Smart Money. If you want to support the show, you can do so in 3 different ways. You can subscribe, you can leave me 5, and you can share this episode with a friend. To subscribe, all you got to do is click the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts. To leave me 5, all you got to do is scroll all the way down to the bottom of the podcast page for Young Smart Money and click on the Write a Review button. And to share with a friend, all you got to do is screenshot yourself listening to this episode, post on your Instagram story, tag me, and I will be sure to repost it in my Instagram story as well. I love giving you guys some attention who are listening to the show. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Real quick, just launched a new project called the Online Course Examiner, basically the Yelp of online courses. It is blowing up lately, onlinecourseexaminer.com. Check it out.